Hey, it's Kimo Sabe here on the daily chart of Bitcoin. Folk, a little price action update. What we are currently seeing here is just a series of higher highs and higher lows. But what I've been noticing is how much this price action is mimicking that price action. So I want to draw out something that I've been looking at kind of recently, and then we'll get into more traditional analysis. So since this price action is kind of mimicking what's going on here, I'm expecting that leg to repeat fairly imminently. Just kind of looking at the price action, the way that went up right there, and you had a small pullback and then straight up. And you kind of did the same thing over here, straight over and then straight up. You have this leg that could be matching this leg. Then this leg here would be matching that. And then in the center here, you just have some kind of chop sideways, whatever. And that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. So this could be imminently ready to break out. It may not break out until the weekend, though, is kind of what I'm thinking with regards to the CME futures. When they're closed, that allows for low liquidity for things to rise exponentially, which basically happened after the election of Donald Trump back on November 5th. You had Monday, there's Tuesday, you had an up candle, Wednesday, breakout, and then Friday you closed at the highs, and then over the weekend you just continued up on a kind of a parabolic rise. What was that? 76 to like a $15,000 move in Bitcoin straight up over the weekend and into the uh, the next week. And my thinking was this whole range was going to trap shorts and then break it out over the weekend. So the CME futures traders that were short in this vicinity were closing their trades all the way up here. And that's how you get the short squeeze, is because the shorts had to buy this to get out of their positions all the way up. So we may be experiencing something similar here where the futures traders are short and they're going to pop it up over the weekend. And then anybody who was short in this range then has to buy the price up. And that could have a nice catalyst for price to make it up to, 130,000 or something like that very, very quickly. Like I'd expect this leg to repeat, the November leg to be repeating sometime soon. I kind of expected it to be in February, but we could be ready to do this like now, like in the next few days here. Assuming there may be a breakout, let's get a target for the daily. I'm going to measure this leg after the consolidation all the way to the high and project it from our current closing candle low, and that would give a price target of 135 before it stops. And then after 135, you'd experience that little pullback, maybe get support around the 120 area before continuation up. And that would be a continuation up into March. And then we would be repeating this series of legs up there. And the target for that, let's get a measurement on that, eventually puts you at 170,000 by the end of March, maybe sooner. So essentially, I'd be saying that this leg repeats up here roughly, and you get a pullback into a February low, probably February 10th if I had to guess. And then you would repeat this ABC up, something like that, up to the 170 region. And that would complete this move. After that, what happens? Well, you either totally fall out of bed or consolidate for probably 2 or 3 months, if I had to guess. That's my assessment. I don't think we'd go much higher than that if we were to get that price action by March, but it would be a nice blow off top for March, at least for a localized high, before maybe a distribution range plays out up above the 130,000 area, something like that, and then get one final push up into Q3 of 2025. So shaping up pretty nicely for a continuation push. Now let's get into kind of what we've been discussing here on this channel was the box that I had. And we're above the middle of the box, especially on closing price. And I kind of expected price to kind of break above and hold above. But if this pattern is the same as that, then it may be breaking out and it's ready to go. I think max opportunity would be all this liquidity down below. So if we get that on Friday, get a wick down there for a buy setup, and then you close the daily candle back above 100,000, I think it's go time. That would be your stop loss. If you get, a wick down there real quick, that would be where I would manage risk off of. But overall, this looks really good for a reaccumulation, especially this down here. This looks really good for a Wyckoff accumulation. I don't have the volume on right now, but it looked acceptable as far as Wyckoff goes. And we can kind of look at the way the price action looked locally. You had your selling climax secondary test. Well, you had the selling climax right there. Preliminary support was 95,400. So that might be a target for a wick to come down and grab all that liquidity. Something to pay attention to is that previous support there, preliminary support. Then you had the selling climax, automatic reaction, secondary test, up thrust into the spring. So after the spring phase, now you have the SOS or the show of strength. And the show of strength is holding above the range. So it's looking really good for markup phase to continue. You still don't have any lower low closes on any significant time frame. I think you got maybe down the hourly, maybe you had a slight downtrend, but the 4 hour still has not given you any lower low closes, and the daily certainly hasn't given you any lower low closes. So overall looking good. So if this markup phase is to continue, we can kind of address the Wyckoff method in a markup phase. So the range in the 70,000 area was a reaccumulation, and now we've entered this markup phase, and this appears to be like a halfway point in the markup phase. So what we want to do is take a channel, and we will just channel the price action up. This is in log scale, by the way, and you can see we're hitting the median of the channel. Kind of hit the median here before a large expansive move. We might be experiencing the same thing before a large expansive move to get in the upper portion of the channel and grind upward into a kind of a climax, if you will. Anytime you're dealing with a markup channel like this, you are inexpensive at the lows of the channel. You're fairly priced in the middle, and you're overvalued at the top. So currently we're slightly undervalued, but around where it should be, but we might push up into the overvalued section or the more expensive area of the markup channel. If we draw that out to what, March, the end of March, where would that take us? 25th, 26th of March is at 170 area. Yeah, so the 28th of March, the channel would be right at the 170 area. So that fits with the markup channel there. So what if we were to expand out after this reaccumulation down here in 2022, and now we're in this larger markup channel? Let's mark a channel on top of that. Actually, before we do that, let's do a smaller markup channel from our last impulse up. so we can get a frame of reference, kind of what that looks like. So this one you can see it marked up to expensive, went to inexpensive, and it overthrew the channel, came back inside. I was still bullish right there, but we did close a weekly lower low, so take some profits and see if it breaks into the upper part of the channel, but it didn't do that and came back and stopped me out. So, and then continued with this awesome 7 month consolidation. But you can see the way the markup channel works. After you mark up, you fall out of the channel, it's over. And you want to look for a consolidation or a distribution or a reaccumulation. So we ended up getting a reaccumulation here into another markup phase. Let's see if we could draw a channel in the larger markup phase. Something like that. And you can see played around the median, came down, went to the top of the yellow channel, came back down, found support on the median, and then broke down to the bottom of that channel. Now we're playing around the median again, kind of mimicking what's going on there. So can we get a nice push up here into the top of the channel? Or perhaps it'll be a fake out and come back down and grab lower liquidity before rising up. Everything's on the table, so use your stops accordingly. But you can see the way that the price channel matches there with March, the end of March, reaching the 170,000 area to maintain that yellow channel, which I found very interesting. So that would have this as an accumulation range. This is markup phase. Should enter a distribution. The distribution may be as quick as this. It would mimic that over here for one more pop up to the top of the channel in October, November up to the 300K range, maybe overthrow the channel. I did have a target at 333. If we end up getting it, that would be great. And what if we zoom out even further to say a weekly chart and maintain the same thought process and the same idea? And you just draw an even bigger channel. That we would match the highs because we have 2 points of reference, and then bring the channel down. I wonder how far down we should put the channel. I guess we put it there for now. So you came down, broke below the channel, median was resistance, broke down the channel again, top of the channel, back down to the bottom of the channel, found support, and now maybe make it back up to the top of the channel. Top of the channel in October area would be around the 300,000 range, so that would be cool. So yeah, a lot of confluence with these channels, and it's just a markup phase in Wyckoff. That's price tends to channel like that from expensive to inexpensive, and then your fair price being around the median, which is right where the all-time high of 70K ended up hitting before now pushing up. So now that it broke above on the red channel, let's delete the smaller channels here. Breaking above the median, finding support at the median, suggests that we would go to the top of the range here before pulling off something different. But you have points of confluence here, and resistance was your median, resistance was the median. Now median turned into support. So looks good for an upwards push. You could be pretty bullish here, maybe more bullish than we're expecting. And perhaps this was a reaccumulation and we're in a larger markup phase, which would mimic the 2017, and that takes you to way, way higher prices. I don't think that's happening, but you have to be open to the idea. And if you overthrow, say this is some kind of ABC pattern, and you just go to the 1-to-1 fib extension, $2.6 million if if things want to get that crazy. Not my current target, but I'm open to the idea if you do mimic that. Personally, I'd be looking for the 618 at 374 as a maximum target for this cycle. That just makes sense from previous things that I've seen. But if this is a reaccumulation channel and we are going to enter markup phase again, you start getting beyond the 400,000. I'd say that, in the millions is potentially possible. I think it would take longer than just this year. I think you'd be in markup phase for the next 3 years or something like that to make that kind of target. I'd expect a pullback first, at least to the median or the bottom of the range for reaccumulation where it's inexpensive. We still have too many people that don't understand what Bitcoin is, and you'd expect them to sell off in some kind of economic panic or something that I suspect is coming. But if that economic panic comes and people don't want to sell their Bitcoin because it's a fear driven, I must have Bitcoin type of collapse because the debt markets are um, so much in crisis, I suppose you could get up into the $1 million per Bitcoin, and it would be as a safe haven from the collapse of the current financial system. Not my base case, but need to be open for that, I guess. But yeah, that's the absolute most bullish I could see this thing going for a while. But the 618 target, 374, I think that's on the table. I think that's very, very bullish from here. So kind of got on a weird rant of extremely bullish targets. Didn't really mean to do that. But yeah, the channels, that's something that I do use quite often um, because that's part of Wyckoff's method. And when you're in a markup phase, the channels help locate where expensive is and where inexpensive is. So hope that was helpful. Maybe I'll come with another video soon on lower time frames to get buy setups. But yeah, I'm hoping for a swing below 100K to grab liquidity and then close the daily back above 100K. And that would be your last opportunity to add before the breakout that I think may be coming either early next week or potentially over the weekend on low liquidity. So something to watch for. Keep your stops tight and have a good night.